But first, a quick recap.
I want to create a series of videos dedicated to repainting an old illustration I did back in some time ago because I can't really remember the date right now because I'm really trying to do this really quick. First thing I did was try to make a new composition to make it much more indulging and to give a more story point kind of a point of view. Then I started with painting the portraits because they were seeming to be like the logical first step. Most likely in hindsight it probably isn't, but hey, you know, sometimes you just gotta take a risk. Then I redesigned all of the portraits and started to color them in.
So the first thing I'm going to do is finish up Ma and Pa. Ma and Pa, well, I basically started them in the previous video, and if you're interested to see how my thought process of when I was picking the colors, you can check that out. If not, it's all cool. We're just going to be finishing up Ma and Pa, tried to create a beautiful and nice painting because Ma and Pa are beautiful and nice people and they deserve to be depicted in the best light. And so what I first did was try to figure out the values, figure out the detailing, figure out the shadowing, the lighting, and all that lovely stuff so that Ma and Pa can look nice and pretty. The concept behind Ma and Pa, which I talked about a little bit in the previous video, is that Ma is the more vibrant and colorful character. She's the caretaker. She's sweet and nice and just loves baking cookies. And Pa, on the other hand, he may seem cold, but he's also quite caring and nice and sweet and a hard worker. And here you can see me trying to create more depth within the painting, giving that mustache that much needed work, and making sure Ma's hair is as beautiful as she is, and getting Pa's hat to be nice and cool because it gets hot in the farming business, right? It gets hot outside and we gotta protect Pa because he does have a pumpkin for a head. What I want to do here is make sure that every element looks like it belongs into the painting. I don't want to have a painting that looks like it's just a collage of, bits and pieces. I want to make sure that it looks like, yes, she is wearing an apron, she's wearing a dress, and there's an apron on that dress. So I really got to think about how the shadowing works and all of these bits and pieces. And here I'm working on the pumpkin head and I'm playing with the shape of the actual pumpkin because I also want to make sure that her personality is shining through because Ma is so sweet and nice, and I want her face to represent that, really sell that character, really show you how sweet and nice she is, right? And I'm gonna do the same thing with Pa and just trying to play with those shapes a lot to represent their personalities and their character. In here you can see how I'm just like trying to incorporate these lines that a pumpkin has, right, those ridges, into building a shape of a face and making sure that that face actually is appropriate for the character that I'm shaping it for. Next up, it's time to make sure Pa's stash is looking majestic. And of course, gotta make sure that Ma's buns look nice and pretty. Because they still care about each other and they want to look pretty for each other. Isn't it sweet? Ah, that old love. So nice. And so, I'm gonna be working on hair and other details, making sure that everything looks the way that it's supposed to. And because this is going to be a smaller piece of the overall illustration, I really want to make sure that it's readable even if the size is small. So I'm not going to go into super major details, but I am going to make sure that it is readable. And here I'm going to be working on the skeleton part of Ma and Pa, making sure that every detail looks approximately right. Like here, this is the moment where I realized, oops, that bone has been turned around wrong. So gotta crop that and put that in the right place. And now putting in its appropriate frame, making sure that it looks nice and pretty, and making the frame. Alright, let's put Ma and Pa in their place. That looks great. And now we gotta start working on the final portrait in the piece, which is a portrait of our pumpkin kid when he was in his when he was first grade. I don't know which age that actually is, but he's small. He's about what, 7 or 8 years old, something like that. So I want to make sure that we have that very youthful look, and I'm putting him in the suit because he's a big boy now. He's going to first grade, and you know, we gotta tell that he is very serious in what he does. So our protagonist Pumpkin, he was very serious even when he was a little boy, and back then he wanted everybody to know, and he did it by wearing a very oversized suit, right, jacket and pants, and some very shiny professional looking boots. He's very serious but also very playful. That's why he's not really much worried about the fact that, you know, he probably can't walk with those huge pants. And I've seen this trend recently in the following years of like parents posting their photos of their kids holding up what grade they started. So I thought this would be such a cute addition to show that he's starting his, you know, first grade, and really gives you the idea of how old he's supposed to be, and just working with that. Getting everything nice and polished, clean, making sure that everything looks right, making sure that everything could be readable when it gets sized down, scaled down probably would be a better term for it. My apologies. So getting all of the details right, making sure that all of the texture can be readable when it's sized down, so you know what's basically going on. So you know that he's standing on a wooden porch right in front of his, right in front of the door of his house before he goes off to school. Because our main protagonist, you know, when he was young, he was actually pretty happy. He was a happy little pumpkin. He had all of his hopes and dreams, but growing up, he realized that the world is a terrible and terrifying place, and all of his happiness and hopefulness has been sucked dry by the obligations of growing up and being an adult, which we all know too well. But for now, he's a happy little camper, and you can see that in his little smile, so I wanted to make sure that you can tell that, yeah, he still has hope in his non-existing eyes. Now, while finishing all of this up, getting a little bit of detail, a little bit of coloring, making sure the depth is there, making sure the values are there, and of course, in the end, gotta make sure that the frame will be right, so I'm going to be adding the glass and the framework, right, so it looks like it is a picture, a photo in a frame. Our little protagonist is getting ready to be finished up and put on the wall next to Ma and Pa and Snowflake, or Snowball, one of those two. I can't really remember right now. But yeah, we're gonna move on to the props, and the first thing that I'm gonna be working on is the lamp, which is basically a umbrella shape part of the lamp, and it has like this lower part that looks like a skeleton foot. The inspiration for the skeleton foot was a skeleton of a human foot, but the lower part doesn't really have the appropriate amount of digits like a human foot. It actually just has 3 digits. So it's not really a human foot, but it kind of looks like it, and was heavily inspired by that. And just going to be finishing up, making sure that the textures are reading, that you can tell that this is actually a bone, right, and not just some plastic or something. So I got to make sure that that texture is reading, and then making sure that the golden bits look like they are made out of gold, or maybe just like covered with gold and paint or something like that. And then making the upper part of the lamp look like it's a kind of satin-like material of some sort, and just going in with some detailing and making sure that everything works. At this moment I realized that I should probably put all the props on one sheet just to make sure that everything looks good separately, but also that everything looks good together. So getting ready for the next video. If you enjoyed, I hope that this video has provided you enough motivation to jump onto your own projects. And a special thank you to all my patrons. You guys are amazing and you rock. Thank you for your support and love, and until next time, I hope to see you back here as we continue. Till then, take care and much love.